Hey everyone, I have to apologize. I missed our Friday 12 o'clock opportunity. I will tell you the reason is because I had gotten in a car accident. A man who, I don't know, wasn't paying attention, ran a red light, and my car ended up being totaled, but I'm perfectly fine. Uh, Unfortunately, now I have the joy of joys of trying to go out and get another car. Which I guess, in some aspects, it's not a bad way to spend a Sunday. Um, uh, One of the reasons why I came on this morning and to hopefully do the Swanda is because I had promised you last week. Oh, the other one has to come up. Sorry. I had promised you that we would be talking about the ways of bringing yourself in, getting into the senses, what some tools are. And I have to say, I was listening to some podcasts, I was listening to some YouTube stuff, and I love that everybody is sitting there so positive, going, oh, 2021 is going to be so much better. I love the fact that people are saying on the 21st of this month, we're going to rise in consciousness. I love the fact that everybody is so positive and that they're going in there to make these things happen. But they're not telling us how to do it. They're telling you that somehow out of osmosis, you're just going to arrive. And you're just going to be in there doing what you want to do. And you're just going to rise in consciousness. And that's really not the way it works. So there's all this energy of the struggle and the strife. We've got all the stay-at-home orders, the mask orders, the things that are seem to be hindering us or helping us, if we look at it in a more positive light, to move forward. But it's emotionally exhausting. I don't know if you guys have hit the wall on this pandemic exhaustion or not, but there's a part of me that loves staying home. I love being working here, but there's another part of me that says, I just want to take another step. So, how we do this and how to really get centered is by getting back in our senses. When we incarnated, we had some really good opportunities. One of the reasons that we started to incarnate is because during the incarnation process, we ended up having we wanted to experience the earth plane. And that means the smells, the tastes, how things feel against us, how we feel when we touch other things, um, all what we see, the colors, the vibrancy. Because when you're in spirit, you don't see the colors in the same way, and you don't see the forms in the same way, and you don't taste things the same way. It's a whole world of difference. I'll share with you a little secret. I had a friend who had been diagnosed with cancer, and she said, they want me to give up sugar. And she goes, I love cake. I don't want to give up cake. Not everybody that gets cancer has a sugar fetish, just to say that. And she didn't either. She just was expressing her frustration over when she wanted a piece of cake, she was able to go get it. And she said, they told me I have to give it up. And I got in my car, and my son came in from the other side, and he goes, Mom, tell her they don't have cake over here. So these are the things that we incarnated to experience. And these are the things that bring us joy. Granted, sometimes we get a little addicted to it. But there are ways to bring yourself into center where you really experience the senses so that, when you're talking mindfulness or we're talking paying attention or bringing ourselves in the moment, there And there are ways we can minimize our stress. And these are some of the tools that I use. So for a few days, sorry, for a few days, what I'd like you to do is look for shapes. Pick a shape: heart shape, square, rectangle, triangle, oval, and see where you see those shapes. Pick one shape and go with it on that outing and look for it. Just be aware of what you're seeing. This really brings it back into our consciousness. It has a neurological effect too. Instead of us just rushing blindly through our day, taking things for granted, it triggers memories, it triggers opportunities, and it triggers healing. And what that means is well, let's say um, circles were your thing and you really loved hula hooping. So you see circles. Hula hooping can bring you into that joyful moment. They can trigger the memory of something very pleasant for you, and that's healing because it's getting you out of your frustrations and your pains of struggling with, oh my gosh, I have to clean a house. Oh my gosh, where am I going to get the money for rent? Oh my gosh, how am I going to make the mortgage payment? Oh, there's food to buy. So getting back in our senses will do this. So for the next few days, I want you to focus on sight. Look to see what you see. And then not just the shapes, but so you take a couple hours and you look for a circle. Take another couple hours and look for all the places you see the color orange. And with the color orange, really look at the variations. Is it orange, or is it kind of a mutated yellow, or is it a deviant into brown? What is it that you're seeing? And really kind of let it express itself to you. This allows your mind to kind of empty from the stress of everything else. A few hours later, you can go back to another shape. You can go back to another color. Then I want you to, a few days after you've really got back into your sight, I'd like you to get into taste. I know this is really strange because you should taste everything, not just your food. We should be tasting things to see what it is that we have that is a benefit. Does it taste sour? Does it taste inviting? Does it taste flat? Does it taste chemically? Once you start investigating the taste of everything that you taste, you also get the opportunity to decide when you're chewing your food, you really get the flavors and see where on your tongue that the taste hits, if that food is really something you want to eat. As a really good example is a bag of potato chips. I love salty. I love salty. I love salty. So taking a bag of potato chips and really eating that, I also taste the grease. I taste the salt. I taste the grease. I also get the sensation of soggy because you're tasting it and you're crunching it and you're munching it and then it becomes soggy. It doesn't feel as refreshing as if I eat a carrot, which has just as much snap to it. And it actually tastes better because it has a little bit of sweetness to it. It has a little bit of salt to it, not as much. But I don't really need salt because, I'm a little older now and salt does not need to be a part of my daily routine. Get down here. So tasting your food, really experimenting with that really has a way of letting us know if what we're eating is healthy. Okay, especially at this time. If we're really worried about catching any kind of illness, I don't care if it's the flu, a cold, COVID, I don't care. It's about being healthy. It's about buying into the food that serves you. Not every food is bad, and just because it's potato chips doesn't mean it's bad. It just means maybe it's not as nutritious for you at that time, and maybe it is. You have to be the one to decide. Then I want you to get into smelling. So when you're tasting the food, try plugging your nose and tasting the food without your smell. And the reason is because food will taste better with your smell, but it will definitely show you dead food from a live food if you don't smell the food. So don't smell the potato chip versus the carrot. Just plug your nose, take the potato chip, and then taste the carrot, and you'll see which one has a more alive flavor. This has a great way of changing the way we look at our food and digest our food as well. So I want you to then start smelling. One of the hardest things that we had, my dad had the older men smell. My father used his shampoo, then he had his aftershave, then he had his cologne, and then he had his mouthwash and his toothpaste, and then he had his body soap, and it was so many conflicting smells that it kind of gagged me and my kids. We realized that was his age, his generation, but they were used to me not wearing a lot of scented things, so we were all overwhelmed with that. So smelling things can tell you about being alive too. There is a smell to us if we're unhealthy. There's a smell to us in our house that's, you walk in somebody's house and there's smells in the house that will tell you whose house you're in. So smell your clothes, smell your laundry detergent. Know that those dryer sheets are not really healthy because they're putting carcinogens out in the air. They're filled with chemicals, but hey, they smell good. You can get those they're like little baseballs that soften your clothes. They're like wool balls that you throw in the dryer. And they don't have a smell. And if you want to put a smell on, you can drop a drop of essential oil on there. And a good essential oil, and it'll freshen up your laundry. But pay attention to the smells in your world. Smell the earth, smell the sky, smell your car. Smelling will get you, it triggers the senses. All of these things trigger your neurological responses. If you want to be healthy, if you want to have happiness, if you want to get out of depression, you stimulate your senses, because those things are there for us to express and to express by. So the next one we're going to look at, we've done sight, smell, taste. What are we missing? Hearing and sound and, what's the other one? I'm trying to think. 5 senses. Touch. There you go. I want you to touch everything. See what it feels like. See if a book feels smooth or if it feels used, if it feels rough around the edges. Feel paper. Feel the different tops of things. The reason is because all of our nerve endings are in our hands and our feet. It will stimulate and trigger to your brain. This stimulates the brain. This allows your brain to kick into gear and to wake up. So if you're not paying attention and you grab a hot pot, we know immediately, oh heck, that's nasty, and we drop the pot. But we don't always go in and say, oh, that coat really feels soft, or that blanket really makes me feel cozy. So when we deal with touch, it's very, very powerful because it gives us a clue to our safety and well-being. But again, remember, all of these are geared to stimulate the brain. If you're just sitting there, not doing much of anything, working from a computer, you're touching the same things, you need to move from your area. You're touching your desk, you're touching your keyboard. Go into your bedroom and touch the texture on the wall, touch cold things in the refrigerator. Change up your sensations. It really will help you get re-engaged. Now I'm going to ask you to save the best for last, and that's hearing. And I'll tell you why hearing is so important. A lot of times we hear things, but we're not really listening. Or you could say, I heard it, and it went in one ear and out the other because we're hearing the same things over and over again. Hearing is a really good tool that we have to listen by the inflections of somebody's voice. I had someone in my life that we talked on the phone for the first 2 years. We had gone to school in high school, and for the first year we talked on the phone. 2 years basically, we really talked on the phone. And this person could tell by the inflections in my voice if I was happy or sad or stressed because they cared to hear that. But when we're living with somebody, we don't always hear that person. Communication is our primary level of embracing what somebody else is going through. We can see, if I cut myself, you're going to know that I'm in pain. But what happens if that cut is a fear deep inside me? I can mask that, but it'll come out in my tone, or it might come out in the shortness of my words, or it might come out in my frustrations. And right now we really need to be listened to. And we really need to listen to other people. It's great that everybody wants to go to the fifth dimension. It's wonderful. I think that's a really good way, thing to strive for. But in truth, if we have fear in our life, if we have obstacles that we're trying to overcome, getting to that fifth dimension isn't just poof, on December 21st, you're going to wake up and be there. I know there are people on YouTube and on podcasts that say this, but they're not dealing with the average human being. They've all relocated out of their family dynamic. They've relocated to another part of the world where they've recreated themselves. They've left them back. And that's wonderful if you can do that. I moved to Canada, and it was a wonderful experience. I didn't have the same stressors that I do when I'm here in my own home, here in Albuquerque, and have a business, and I have family here. Because you worry about the dogs, you worry about this, you worry about that. Whereas in Canada, I only had to worry about me. And I could reinvent who I was, and I could just do the things that were joyful to me because I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to make a living. I was set. I had gone into retirement, and I was able to do these things and focus only on my own spiritual awareness and growth. But let's be realistic. Not everybody gets to do it. Good morning, Lala. Not everybody gets to do these things. Not everybody gets to leave those things behind, especially when we have children or spouses or parents or siblings that are in our life. We still have those dynamics that we're working through and working with. So the key point of listening is to hear. Now you can go, if you're in the store, you can, you're standing in line, listen to people. Pay attention to what their body language is. Sometimes you'll see somebody standing like this, and they've got their side turned. You can tell that they're cutting off the person who they're talking to. And maybe the person talking to them is using something, they're just frustrated because they have to stand in line, and they're just expressing all this anger, and that person just wants to shield. You'll see people shift as they're listening their heart away from something unpleasant because they don't want to be bombarded with it. The other aspect of that is maybe if they're saying something loving and supportive, they'll lean into it and they'll hear better, and they'll go in and they'll want to have some kind of connection with you, or the person they're talking to. Then you can pay attention to how you're talking at home. I know that since the car accident on Friday, I've been talking in short sentences because my mind is engaged with, my car was totaled. Yes, I'm perfectly okay, but now I have to go into buy a car mode, and my head is engaged in that frustration. I hate shopping. On my best day, I hate shopping. To shop for our car is huge because you have to go in and try to figure out which is the best warranties, what's going to last you forever. I had the car I wanted for the next 10 years, and now I don't. Ironically, it was really weird. I don't know if any of you guys have had this experience, but when I got hit, the Blue Link came on, and the State Farm could go in and check my car status, knew that the frame was bent, knew that the airbags deployed, and they totaled my car without the usual adjuster go see it time. So all of it kind of threw me in this frustration. So the last few days I've been short sentences, trying to think clear, and not always speaking succinctly or loving or supportive because I'm frustrated. So knowing these things, because I'm going to tell you, I know that they've all promised these really great times for 2021. I think we're looking at another 6 months of chaos. It's not going to be that easy for us to pull out. And I have to say, probably, if I was being honest, I heard on the news this morning they just found another mutated strain in the UK that's more dangerous and more contagious. So what do we do with that, folks? Do we hide in fear? I hope not. I hope that we learn to deal with it effectively. I hope we learn to take proper precautions. But we're really going to need to hear each other. Okay, we're really going to need to have our senses engaged and engage and put ourselves back in our physical form, because this is where we're at. We're on a 3D world, having a 3D experience. And yes, you can elevate your consciousness. You can go to the 4th or 5th level, but that requires letting go of the fear. And the only way we can let go of the fear is by embracing our moment now. I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Don't forget, one of the key components of this is listen to the children. They're much more connected to so much more than we are. And ask them how they're feeling. Connect with them. They're awfully scared right now. Make their world a little safer, a little healthier, a little happier by listening, because the kids have the intuition. They're not pulling any punches. Listen to your friends, but above all, listen to your heart, because your heart's going to guide you ever so much further. But take a moment and get back in your body. My heart to all of yours. I hope you have a marvelous day, and I'll see you on Christmas Day. Bye now.